It's not my job to cause anybody to believe, but out of my heart I do wish to give you warning. A little preparatory time that you can be prepared and not taken by what you may see coming. It's as simple as that. I'm going to put some things into perspective. It will either confirm the truth within you or not. But in either case, we're going to see drastic changes both in the earth and in mankind. We will see them. Your entire paradigm, what you know as reality, has been secured for a long time. Everything has stayed stationary in the sky. We keep track of seasons and everything else by atomic time. Things of that nature, constants in science and in formulas. We've been spoiled, really. We've had a time of rest for a long time. The only problems we've absolutely had were problems of war. But the great calamities were held back, far and few in between. So then the knowledge that existed so long ago will be thrust in the faces of many in the days to come. Everybody has to be prepared for this, according to the truth that you can take in. It does go with the darkness, a deep darkness that's coming back upon the face of the earth. I tell you this, you guys familiar with the book of Revelation and other texts, you know that something will come upon the face of the earth from below, and something will come upon the earth from above. What comes from below is already here, mingling among men, but you don't know how. Many don't know the explanation of their own dreams. Many don't know the importance of the magnetosphere. Many of us have been spoiled because everything has been somewhat stable. Ladies and gentlemen, that stability is about to be challenged in one of the worst ways it can. And as these things begin to change and alter the earth, so will the minds of mankind become desperate, and war will naturally ensue. And I'm going to explain to you what the darkness is as best I can, what I'm familiar with. And it takes a toll on everybody who comes in contact with it. In fact, a person who's irresponsible should never seek out darkness. It will surely consume your soul. I tell you this, exotic elements that are coming into the solar system, so will that darkness grow. Darkness will again be upon the face of the earth, and what was ancient will rise up again. Folks, you live in a very different time. Most of what I'm going to say to a lot of people, you won't believe. But then again, no one believes until something happens, and then when something happens, they seek out the source of those who knew. By that time, the sources have they're all but gone. Thus you're stuck in a place with no instruction, with things you cannot possibly believe, just like the undoing of the earth. There are signs all around you. The interiors of the earth, everything is waking up. The changes of the earth have nothing to do with humanity, and everything to do with truth, and it's covered over with a lie. Global warming, a key word used for the elite to grab their attention and foretell of meetings and everything else. Do you know what happened in 2004?
We observed the brightest flash of light ever seen in the heavens, at least in modern historical times. Even though this flash originated on the other side of the galaxy, it was so bright that it impacted and interfered with many satellites orbiting the Earth. It was so powerful that it distorted the Earth's ionosphere.
The blast in 2004 came from a magnetar known as SGR 1806-20 in the constellation Sagittarius. It's about 50,000 light years away from Earth, on the far side of the Milky Way.
It was incredibly powerful. All that energy came in 1/10 of a second. It blasted the detectors and satellites that happened to be flying around up there. In fact, it was the brightest blast ever seen from an object outside our solar system. And yet, it was 50,000 light years away.
The earthquake that triggered the tsunami in the Indian Ocean in December 2004 was the largest natural disaster in the last 40 years. More than 220,000 people were killed or presumed dead.
That's when all the knowledge was solidified. The knowledge of global warming actually began in the 1900s. That's when the observations took place. In 2004, everything was solidified. Preparations were made in the 1930s and 40s so they could survive. Yes, they have underground bases. Who doubts that? And this won't be a talk about the underground bases, but I'm telling you, they do exist. They do exist. I mean, everybody should know the common underground bases. The CFR for Greenbrier, built in 1958, 1962, that was build time. It was to allow people to operate and sustain them for 60 days. NORAD, Cheyenne Mountain, 1961, 1965, build time. That's the Space Control Center, communications with the National Military Command. Iron Mountain, that's where the elite are protected. We can go on, China Lake, Mount Weather, Denver, Australia, Israel. They have underground bases there too. These things were built. 4 to 5 year build time back then. What do you think it is now? How vast do you think these structures are now? And I tell you, they're preparing for something. You know it as global warming, which began in 2004. Do you not know in 2004, global warming was actually placed on Net Geo's website, National Geographic, and it was also in Business Week. What's it doing in Business Week? And they gave you the cover that somebody was trying to make money off of it. That was to throw you off the path. Let me tell you how they work. Can I just tell you how they work? Because global warming has to do with the exotic things that are coming into the solar system. They are intertwined, one in the same. Let me tell you how they work though. Because you not having certain knowledges, you're kept in the dark about many things. You can only believe what you see, and so you buy the paradigm of which they place before you. When they get somebody that grows up in their educational systems, they cause them to believe in a lie, and thus they go out with a sincere heart and begin to fight for that lie. Global warming. You see how that works? We become a slave to a paradigm that's an illusion. All of what you see is not real, though it has real effects upon your life. You are simply maneuvered by a control system that you need to break free of. I'm trying to help you before it comes crumbling down, and then your heart starts pumping very fast. Because in your mind, you will think that your world came to an end. Men's hearts will fail them for fear, for looking after those things that are coming upon the world. That's not from one thing, that's from multiple things. 2004, global warming hit the front pages. Scientists, they already admitted back in 2004 and swept all that under the carpet. They didn't know the dynamics of climate change, and thus Princeton University was charged with the task of coming up with something, and coming up with something quick. Now when you talk about global warming, people get this question in their heads. They'll say, I don't believe in global warming, yet it's getting warmer every single year. So what they did was they threw out a word, and people began to chase and support the word with what's happening in the world. The conditions of global warming are absolutely 100% real. The earth is warming up. Radiation is building. Sickness is running rampant all over the earth. But why? You see, there are forces out there that mankind cannot comprehend. 2004, everything started. Why did it start in 2004? Because that was the impact of a magnetar.
Magnetars are rapidly spinning neutron stars, which form when stars several times larger than our sun begin to die and collapse in upon themselves. And the reason magnetar flares are so powerful is that the magnetic fields around certain areas of the star sometimes twist themselves so much that they can't twist anymore, and suddenly release like a spring. But unlike planetary collisions, where kinetic energy dominates, magnetar flares shoot out most of their energy as electromagnetic radiation. In other words, light.
That's when the top of our atmosphere was ripped off by a wave sent by a magnetar. That's why. A piece of our atmosphere was ripped off and you didn't even know it in 2004. Nobody talked about that, did they? Anybody discuss that? No, they didn't. Oh, they had all the instrumentation in the world monitoring it. They were scared to death. They didn't know what would happen. They didn't know. But I'm telling you, they were deathly afraid because they saw it coming. They can see a lot of things coming. They're not going to tell you. For what good would that do? You would only get in the way. I'm telling you that in 2004, everything changed. And that's why in 2005, the United Nations had the Climate Change Conference.
We know that climate change is the single most important environmental issue facing the world today. The scientific evidence on climate change from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change that met in Montreal in September and from many others is more compelling than ever. We know that the longer we wait, the larger will be the challenge and the damage from climate change. The broad-based consensus is that more action is required now.
How convenient. 2004 global warming, that discussion really takes off. And in 2005, they had the Climate Change Conference. How convenient. Ever since 2005, what have you noticed?
In 2006, fast radio bursts from a magnetar were picked up by telescopes, which led to speculation they could be from an advanced alien civilization. Then the bursts recurred 9 more times over 6 months last year.
Take a look at the screen here. What I've just turned on here is something called the microwave background imagery from the MIMIC TPW out of the University of Wisconsin. And this normally shows total precipitation or total precipitable water vapor in the different storm systems around the planet. And it's derived from microwave satellite imagery. And what you're going to see on the screen here is not a storm of any kind that we would normally think of storm forming wise, like precipitation and water. What this is a planetary disturbance of some kind of global shockwave of some kind of energy.
An interplanetary shockwave has hit the Earth and hit the Earth's magnetic field last night just before midnight. When a shock arrived, the density of the solar wind flowing around our planet abruptly quadrupled in intensity. A crack opened in the Earth's magnetic field, resulting in a G2 class geomagnetic storm.
Change in weather phenomena, a change in earthquake activity, a change with the other objects in space. That's why we send probes all over the place. For proof of something, yes, but to also monitor. We've got satellites and craft orbiting just about everything we can because they serve as an early warning system of what will happen to Earth. See, if something is just indigenous to Earth, maybe mankind can change it. But what we're having is not indigenous to Earth. It is not just for Earth. The entire solar system is beginning to do a wicked shimmy. And solar activity is a telltale sign of the exotic energy that's coming into the solar system. The sun acts as a shield to the entire solar system. The sun does, just as your skin acts as a shield to protect your insides and to keep things away from the precious internal portions of your body. right? So does the sun create a barrier to keep highly charged particles at bay. And every so often, it's pierced. The skin, we could say, that envelops our solar system is weakening, and things are coming through. There's nothing mankind can do about it. And it's coming. That was December 27th. Earth was impacted by that blast. 2004, December 27th. Normally when something blows, like a magnetar or something like that, it sends out multiple shock waves. It's like triple, quadruple explosions, right? Well, they're headed towards Earth from more than one source. This thing is just charged with energy because it's coming from a source of almost pure energy. 2004, that magnetar just barely skipped us. In fact, it didn't even touch us, but it ripped off a portion of the atmosphere. I tell you this, when it passed, it was millions of miles away. But it still sucked off part of our atmosphere. That's a problem. I believe the distance of that pulse of the magnetar was about the distance from Earth to Mercury. That's the distance you're talking about, right? I'm sorry, twice the distance between Earth and Mercury. It was twice the distance, and it still popped off a piece of our atmosphere. Still, even with that distance. So can you begin to see what the Earth must undergo, what it's about to undergo? The particles are already coming through. They're already coming through, right? It's kind of like a fireplace. You light up a fireplace, right? You get near the fire and you start feeling the heat. The fire didn't pass through you, you didn't pass through the fire, but you feel the heat. What is that? Infrared light. All you're feeling is light. You know that? That's what you feel. Light. That's all you're feeling. What is that infrared light? It's radiation.
And just what exactly is UV? There's 3 different types of UV, to the best of my knowledge: UV A, B, and C. UV A and B, we've always known, have came into the atmosphere. You get too much, or if the UV is too high, the UVB can give you a sunburn. It can also alter your DNA. Believe it or not, UVB can do that. That's pretty much what we know about UVC, is that it is stronger than UVB as far as the chain of command goes with respect to electromagnetic radiation. But there really isn't a whole lot of information about UVC because it's always been the understanding that UVC is checked at the door. Doesn't get through the ozone layer. No need to even be concerned with it because it's not measurable at the surface of the Earth. Well, it is now. And that's been confirmed by a group of scientists. And this is a peer-reviewed paper that you can find at the website. Right there. UVC confirmed. It's been a peer-reviewed paper. The Journal of Geography, Environment, and Earth Science International. It's a collaboration of universities all around the world. These scientists have confirmed that they have measured UVC at the surface multiple times, and that there are elevated levels of UV A and B at the surface of the Earth. Dated March 28th, 2018.
Tuesday, April 10th, 11:55 a.m. Mountain Time, 2018. Look at the UV from southeast Phoenix. Under mostly sunny skies and the direct sunlight. UVC on the left at a 44, 43. Total UV on the right, UVAB is 11.2. Almost a carbon copy of yesterday.
Last year we got a 12.4% increase in outside gamma radiation doses. And what they're doing at Space Weather is, I think about monthly now, they're launching a weather balloon, has cameras on it, has different type meters to measure gamma radiation. And you can see the spikes here about every 6 months. But this started March 13th, 2015 and to the present. Now they're saying we've got a 13% increase in the last year. As in 2 years, that's 26%. Do the math.
Is it going to kill you? Well, if you're overexposed to it, it's going to burn you up. But your flesh reacts to the radiation. It raises your body temperature by exciting molecules in your flesh. Therefore, you feel heat. Heat is movement. Movement is heat. Okay, you got that? Heat is movement. Movement is heat. So when you get near something that's infrared, the molecules internally begin to move around a lot more, and then you feel heat, the heat of your body. In the same fashion, this wave is coming through. What it emits, the solar system is responding to.
We can look at all the planets and the sun and see changes just like we see on Earth, and I'm going to show you a little bit of that. This is a composite graph of solar activity based on core samples from the Antarctic and the Arctic, and what you're seeing is the total amount of sunspot activity. This is what it's been doing in the last few years. Mercury has grown a magnetic field when Messenger went by in 2008 that was not seen in the 70s with Mariner 10. That's a big change in Mercury. Venus has had a 2,500% increase in this green glow on the night side that you can see there. That's active oxygen. Mars is growing clouds and ozone, as you can see right here. There were no clouds on Mars before. That's brand new. The polar ice caps are melting on Mars, and they're actually calling it global warming in the mainstream media. But there's no SUVs on Mars, not that I've ever seen. Jupiter is having these white ovals that were disappearing between 97 and 2000, 3 of them, and then they all meld into one. Jupiter is having raging thunderstorms and global upheaval, towering storms more than 100 kilometers tall. The rare storms, a sign of recent turmoil on the planet. And here's the picture. These bright hotspots were never seen before. This is extra heat that shouldn't be there, and the colors of the rings are changing. Then you go out to Saturn, you're seeing this plasma torus that's grown. All this red area wasn't there before. That's all this charged energy. You're seeing massive X-rays coming out from near the equator of Saturn. That's also a new phenomenon. Again, you're seeing a hotspot, just like the one I just showed you on Jupiter, the raging storms, the global upheaval in 2008. Same thing happened in 2004. Uranus, as of 1986, looked like green pea soup with hardly any peas, just the green part. Nothing to see. This is false color, so that's why this is brighter than this. We're not so much concerned about the color, we're concerned about these little guys, because that's what we didn't see before. Neptune, 1989, relatively few bright clouds, but between 96 and 2002, there's a 40% increase in brightness in the near-infrared range. This is very significant because, obviously, this could not be caused by anything we normally understand. And it's the same thing that's happening throughout the rest of the solar system. It's all doing the same stuff.
Just like your skin responds to infrared light, so does the solar system respond to these exotic particles coming in, because the source is coming close. The source of these waves is coming close. Now, close does not mean right there where you can see it. I can assure you that, but prior to you seeing anything, this world is going to rumble like you never saw before. You telling me this second wave is not going to impact humanity? I'm telling you it is. You're going to hear many things. But it's always good to have your ears open to the Holy Spirit and the truth that is within you. That when it is time to do something, you move. And when it is not time to do something, you stay still. Because it could be life or death to you. That means I don't have the final word on what you must do. The Lord does. Not one man on earth has a final word for what you must do. The Lord knows what you must do. And because he said he will never leave you nor forsake you, he will instruct you. Okay? So as I go through these things, I can only advise. But you must have your ear open to the Lord. Because if you don't, you're going to follow the advice of man, and by that man's word you may die.